This is Dan Damon in London, and it's time now for our weekly feature. Our feature today is about a group of working-class men and women who learned to paint in London's East End and briefly became famous in the 1920s and 30s. Their work was forgotten during the chaos of the Second World War, and their remarkable paintings have been rediscovered in the past few years. Through the eyes of the East London group painters, you see the harsh urban landscape of London between the world wars as tranquil streets and empty corners. In their paintings, there are few people. There are sunlit roofs and long Sunday morning shadows. You're running out of wall, David, I think.
I'm running out, yeah. When a collector never runs out of walls.
The man who's led that revival of interest in the East London group is former oil company executive and lifelong collector of 20th century British art, David Buckman. He showed me around his house in North London, where every wall in every room and beside every staircase is a gallery of paintings from the last century.
Ah, right, okay. Harold Steggles at the bottom on the right. That's an example of a fairly grim sort of area which has come to light with the way that he's painted it, and is really quite cheerful.
David Buckman's book, From Bow to Biennale. Bow is the district in East London where the artist lived and worked. The Biennale is the Venice Biennale, then as now one of Europe's most important art shows, where the East London group exhibited in the late 1930s. That book revived interest in the East London group.
It really was working men. I mean, it was people like basket makers, clerks, unemployed, people like the two Steggles brothers, Walter Steggles and Harold Steggles, Albert Turpin, window cleaner, anti-fascist protester, mayor of Bethnal Green at one time. Elwyn Hawthorne, I think, was the poet of the group. He produced almost surreal images of Cumberland Market.
What unlocked the talent in this group of working men and women was teaching by Scottish artist John Cooper, who moved to London and began classes in Bow in 1925.
Cooper was obviously an inspirational teacher. He was a charismatic man, and Cooper, who'd been trained at the Slade School of Art, knew that these sort of people had no chance of getting education at places like the Slade or the Royal College of Art, and he wanted to give them every opportunity. He was very demanding. 3 classes in the evenings a week. These people had to earn a living. They had to get to the classes. And he used to say things like, do not just paint a pot of flowers, paint London as it is around you. Cooper was a networker, and he got down Walter Sickert, one of the great British artists of modern times. And he would sit on the edge of his desk wearing an outlandish suit and carpet slippers. People like Hawthorne, the artist, and Albert Turpin and Walter Steggles, they were really impressed to be taught by such a great artist and a great teacher.
One haunting image by Walter Steggles, a draftsman for a shipping company, shows Bow Bridge under a purple sky with tram tracks and a man on a bicycle. And here's that place today. It's the flyover where the A11 crosses the A12. I've come here with Sophie Hill, who runs the Bow Arts Project and Gallery, and Tarragon Smith, an artist painting East London landscapes today.
There is a lot of grey and a lot of blue in this picture, but there is also a lot of light, a warm golden colour, and I find it quite an uplifting painting. Well, it's a big change to the A12.
Well, exactly. We have to own up, don't we? Uplifting is not what you get
from the A12
in the same
today,
location now, because we're right by the flyover. It's noisy and it's not very beautiful. Tarragon Smith, you're an artist. Could you make this beautiful? Would you bother?
I would bother doing what the East London painters did in the past, and that's seeing potential in something. They make it compelling.
I can guess you're not born around here.
I'm not. I am Canadian, but I moved to London about 10 years ago, and I'm stuck here. I'm a bit in love with it. The canals and the train system, that speaks of history, but it speaks of the future, and I love that.
If you saw my little backyard, what a pretty spot you'd cry. It's a picture on a sunny summer's day. With the turnip tops and cabbages, what people doesn't buy, I makes it on a Sunday look all gay.
Well, East London is hip and expensive now, but it still catches the eye of painters like Mark Goodham, who's brought me to look at an alleyway in Spitalfields.
I just loved the sort of symmetry of the huge black gates, and then right in the middle you had this kind of violent mayhem going on.
Which is all the graffiti.
Which is the graffiti and the street art and the pastings and the tags.
And above this, what might have been, I suppose, the entrance to a yard or to a factory, 33A S. Schwartz. I think we can assume Jewish, probably in the rag trade.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like so many of the businesses here.
And it is a part of London, part of East London, that looks like it's not here long. It looks like it's going to disappear quite soon.
And yeah, it's just one of those sort of compositions that just stops you. And many other people sort of stop here and take photographs, and it's part of a street art tour that happens, and you know, so London, it's an unusual thing now, how people stop and appreciate certain elements of the city here in East London now, you know.
Technically, how good were the East London group?
Well, none of them were professional artists. Technically, they seem to me as contemporary paintings, you know, and I think maybe they were ahead of their time.
With a ladder and some glasses, you could see to Hackney Marshes, if it wasn't for the houses in between.
The custodian of the East London Group's reputation and website and Twitter feed is Alan Waltham. He married Walter Steggall's niece, and he showed me one canvas in his collection.
Painted in 1931, I would say this is the peak of his ability.
Elwyn Hawthorne.
Elwyn Hawthorne, yes. Superb painting, typical of Elwyn's work. It shows a scene of the railway bridge across Bow Road, which is still there. The way he depicts the trees with these little fingers apparently on the end where they've been pollarded back, 3 or 4 lone figures across the pavements.
There's nothing missing,
No.
And yet there's not much in there.
No, this is it. It's what the artist has chosen to include and also what he's decided to leave out.
What's the assessment of their work now? Where is that? What do people think about it now?
It's very difficult for me to be objective, if I'm honest. The overwhelming feedback that I'm getting is that everybody, more often than not, they'll say, where have these been? Where have they been hiding? Very gratifying to see their work reappraised.
If you got a rope and pulley, you'd enjoy the breeze more fully, if it wasn't for the houses in between.
Many East London Group paintings were lost or damaged. Those that remain are attracting rising prices at sales, and 2 exhibitions of their uncomplicated and striking scenes of Cockney London are planned for 2016. That's Gus Ellen who's singing If It Wasn't for the Houses in Between, and the music you heard earlier was Vaughan Williams' London Symphony and the East London Group. You'll see some of those pictures on our website later. This is the BBC.